Hey crew, welcome back. I am so pleased today to introduce a friend. Her name is Sandy, and she is a nutrition nut, a Reiki master, a yoga enthusiast, and most importantly, today she's talking to us as an astrological guide. But Sandy is so much more. She is amazing. If you haven't met Sandy yet, you will notice that she absolutely glows from the inside out, and she is just an incredible, incredible woman. So she's here to talk to us about astrology today. Welcome, Sandy.
That's a beautiful intro. Thank you, Megan. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You deserve all of that. You're doing a wonderful job and supporting so many people in this world. So thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for joining us today.
You are welcome, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So today, Sandy, we're going to talk about what's coming at us, what energies are coming at us for the month of March, and how to work with these powerful energies in our lives. Because I think this is so impactful that we can work with the current, work with the energies, not resist or fight against them. You know, everything in this world is energy. And so let's work with astrology as well in our lives to just make it easy breezy and beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the overall theme for March, Sandy.
Well, March we transition from Aquarius into Pisces. So from Pisces into Aries. So most of March is Piscean energy. And this is the energy of where the beliefs come in. You know, when it comes to Pisces, they are the old soul and the empaths of the zodiac. So they always have these deeper understandings of the things that happen around us. So we can call this the inner mystic. We can call this the subconscious zones, the dream zones. But Pisces is a beautiful ethereal energy, and we all have Pisces somewhere in our chart. So that means that's where the sun is. So wherever Pisces is in your chart, that's the area of life that Pisces will rule for you. So somewhere it's being activated for each person.
Yeah, absolutely. That dreamy sort of energy that Pisces brings, right? Yeah, sometimes avoidance too, a little bit, right?
Well, there's shadows to every sign. Pisces is definitely, they can be escape artists, escapism. We have to watch our addictions and habits based on the sensitivities around us. It's always good during any Pisces time for everybody, wherever it is, to just, crave a little bit of solitude and making sure we're unplugging. Avoidance, escapism can definitely be a shadow, but every shadow is a strength. And the strength of that is Pisces energy is meant to be in this self-reflection. So it's not, is it avoidance or is it
Good point. Is it self-reflection? Is it that internal that we all need as well? Yeah. Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so February 25th, we stepped into Mercury retrograde. Why don't we start there if you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Mercury retrograde. So this is the thing that everybody blames the entire world on, full moons and Mercury retrograde. I've heard people whose cars won't start and they are like, oh, Mercury retrograde. But so Mercury is the planet that governs how we communicate and how we take in and process information, mostly. So when Mercury goes retrograde, it means it appears to be going backwards in the sky. So it turns the energy inwards. So normally we take information in and we speak it out, unless you were born in Mercury retrograde and then you learn to do it differently. But people who are in Mercury retrograde, the reason it can cause some havoc is because it reverses the energy. So we're not communicating the same way that we normally would, or people aren't taking the information in the same way. So it's almost like we can't get our thoughts across. So this is where emails, text messages, contracts, anything that you're working with in an exchange or communication, this is where we can get some hiccups. Mm-hmm. And same as what we talked about at the beginning with the Pisces season, Mercury is retrograde in Pisces. So this is even more opportunity to watch the mind chatter. That's what we look at this time. And I say this a lot, but if you took out the voice in your head and had him beside you 24 hours, do you like that person? This is the time to look at that. So where would we look is, again, where's Pisces in your chart? Where is that Mercury going retrograde in your chart? Because that's going to show the area of life. If it's in your house of marriage or partnerships, then this is where you're going to maybe have some conflict or some things to work through. And same if it's in career or family, or find out what area of life Mercury retrograde is happening for you, and that you could use an astrologer or any astrology app and find that out, and then you can use it as a tool instead of having it challenge you.
Absolutely. I love that, Sandy. In life coaching, it's so important. The first thing that we can do is start to become really aware of our thoughts in our mind, right? It's the first step in changing our thought process and changing our lives. So that mind chatter that we might be experiencing for the next few weeks, become really cognizant of it in order to shift it.
Yeah. Okay. And if there was ever an opportunity to work with a life coach, this is the time, because you're already going to be drawn there. Might as well work with that energy.
Yeah. Okay. And then March 2nd, we have Mars moving into Pisces as well.
Mm-hmm. This is an odd position for Mars to be. Mars is a planet that usually thrives when it's in a fire or air energy, but it actually struggles in a water energy. So what happens when Mars goes into Pisces is this planet that governs action and response, like how we do things, how we handle conflict, how we get motivated, moves into a watery energy, which it loses power in a little bit here. So it turns the action into working with our dreams. So again, opportunity to work with subconscious only through action. So the other way I would put it is, when Mars goes there, it's moving from it's moving from Aquarius into Pisces. Aquarius is doing quite good. Pisces, it's going to, all of a sudden, all of the psychic mental energy we've had of let's stand up to this, let's awaken, let's do things differently. They're the peaceful rebel when they're in Aquarius, but when they come into Pisces, they're like, I need to advocate for my own space. I need to advocate for, boundaries. Pisces is one of those signs that one of their goals in life is to figure out how to separate themselves from others, because they're ethereal. A lot of Pisces can actually become something else. And because Mars is that warrior planet, it can really help us work with boundaries here as well. But yeah, Mars is a masculine energy, right? Yes.
So what comes to mind as a life coach is I often ask these two questions. What do you want to do, which is like the masculine sort of energy? What do you want to do with your life? And then how do you want to feel while you're doing it? So this kind of reminds me of those two questions, like what are we action oriented doing, and how do we want to feel, and then how do we blend those together in a really beautiful way?
That is an incredible way of saying it, and literally that energy. So Well said.
All right. And then moving along. So March 3rd is a big day. We have the total lunar eclipse in Virgo and the full moon in Virgo, right?
Yes. Yeah. So interesting things with lunar eclipses, you can actually track them multiple different ways. Anytime we have a full moon lunar eclipse, then it is this is an end of a cycle. So it can be in line with the solar eclipse that was in Virgo, or it can be in line with the last solar eclipse. Everybody works with lunar eclipses differently, and none of them are wrong. But some people look at this as a 2.5-year cycle that we are ending. So if you think about that energy of the full moon coming into Virgo, Virgo is all about our day-to-day life, how we organize things, how we take care of ourselves, how we exchange and take care of others, our problem solving, stuff like that. So that's a lot of the energy that has to do with Virgo. And so if you think about your life 2.5-ish years ago, or just even 2 years ago, what was something that you started and now it's kind of grown to this place where you're like, I don't need to sweat it or stress about this anymore. I can let it go. So that's one way of looking at it. There's a lot of karmic cycles attached to lunar eclipses, because Usually something significant will come to an end at this time. And again, depending where Virgo is in your chart, which is going to be opposite of where, of course, everything else is happening right now, wherever that is, that's going to be the area of life that something's ending for you. So I would recommend, during that full moon, or just look where Virgo is in your chart, what area of life it rules, and you're going to see where maybe a process is ending.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Would you think, working with this energy and working with the full moon, like the ending, I often do journal prompts around this time just to help process endings. Would you think a good prompt is like what habit or what criticism, what daily ritual, what daily routine are you ready to let go of? Would that be a good question to journal on?
I feel like that would be an excellent one. That would be excellent for a Virgo full moon period. But yeah, 100%. And what another thing is with your journal prompts, that's a good idea, is we're looking back into what we're letting go of because we've evolved. But we can also look forward from a full moon too. What are we ready to let go of so we can continue our evolution? Because what's that perhaps obstacle in your way? Because that Virgo can be the inner critic. Maybe it's still there, or maybe it's what you want to work on next. So what you just said, you could use it for behind and what we're going to let go, or forward, what are we going to make room for more?
Yeah, actually, and the more we talk about this, what's coming to mind is what might be really beautiful is doing a 5-minute continuous writing exercise to just digest everything that's happened in the last 2 years, write it all out, express it, and then begin forward in the new direction with what you want. Okay, very cool.
And then burn it because it's a full moon. So
yeah, exactly. Safely burn it. March 6th, we have our planet of love, Venus, entering Aries as well. So very action, fiery energy. Tell us about that.
So this is an interesting one because everybody thinks Venus and Aries are opposite energies. And they're right. They are right in some ways, but they are meant to work together because any polarity we have in astrology is needed, right? Because what one energy lacks, the other has. So when we look at the planet Venus, she represents how we love, what we're attracting to ourselves, harmony, right? Partnership and union. And when we look at Aries, we're looking at independence. We're looking at courage and forging ahead. They're ruled by Mars, so they're very opposite. So when Venus enters Aries, what we start to see is almost this diplomatic advocate energy starting to come in, because Venus can feed into Aries, believe it or not. It does lose power here. We would call this in detriment. But when Venus is in Aries, even if it's in detriment, it teaches us that, hey, there's actually value in what somebody else has to say. It teaches us how to work in partnerships for ourselves, is what I'm trying to say. So we still have our independence, but how can we do that together?
So it could be a combination then of external relationships and love relationships, and then also internal love and working with our own self-value, or?
Well, I would say, so yes, of course, what you said, yes. Everybody always thinks when they think love, they think of a partnership, and that's the Libra part of Venus. But Taurus is also ruled by Venus. And so Venus is known as a money planet because it's attracted. It's if we don't love ourselves, we attract partners that aren't going to love us either, right? So I would even go a little bit deeper with what you said and say, like, how can I put myself and find compassion for others through that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And what I think of, the more you explain it, is I often think relationships are a mirror image of ourselves, right? So every person comes into this world to teach us a lesson and to reflect something back at us, whether it's positive or negative. And so it's really encompassing and developing the right self-worth and inner feelings, and then seeing how that portrays maybe in a romantic relationship or just in friendships.
Yeah, exactly. And if people are interested in making money at that time, That's another way they could look at it too. How do I put myself first in? Look at where Aries is in your chart. So if Aries is in your house of, I'm just going to pick one, like family, let's say. How do I put myself first as an example for my family, but also realize that this is opening a door to prosperity, because Venus attracts whatever energies that are there, and Aries energy is selfish energy, and not selfish in a bad way. It's selfish in a, think of that seed coming out of the ground. It can't think of anybody else. It has to, for its lifeline, it has to push forward. And then we can get into that. So for abundance as well as for relationships, 100%. Look where Aries is in your chart. Put yourself first for the benefit of all.
Mm-hmm. And Aries is the beginning of the zodiac too. Like, so I love this metaphor you're using of the seed growing, out of the dirt. It's that initiating energy. So beautiful. And then, this is a juicy one. Okay. March 7th, we have the Sun and Mercury conjunct.
Yes. So the Sun and Mercury actually conjunct quite a bit. Conjunct, like, so there's like the same degree, and that's super powerful when planets do that. And because the Sun is our ego, our life force, and how we identify, coming right face to face with Mercury, that it's almost like our mind and our way of communicating what we need come into our life force energy. So it's very powerful. I was born with this exact conjunction, so it makes people be able to communicate better.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I don't think I said, but this is in the Pisces energy. Were you also born in the Pisces energy with this?
No. So, but when we look at aspects, we always look at the aspect first, because that's where the energy's super, super powerful. Now, if we look at this in Pisces, we now attach the Pisces energy to it, which is, of course, the subconscious, empathy, even sacrificial energy, is here. So, thinking about how do our actions and our being actually work in Pisces energy. But the signs are their energy. The most important part about astrology, and this is why it's important to know your chart, is to know where it's happening for you. So if the Sun and Mercury are coming in to exact degrees, and I think you had the date written down, it was March 7th. So when those are an exact degree, you want to know where that's happening for you in your chart. And so again, it's going to be where Pisces is most likely in your chart. But what area of life? Is it in travel, belief systems? Is it in your career? Is it in your friendships? Because when you can understand that, then you can use it to your advantage. And this is going to be really strong, especially for, of course, anybody who has a strong Pisces in their chart, but also artists. We're all creative one way or another. And there's two types of creativity. There's creating from joy and talent and our gifts, more that Leo energy. And then there's creating from the little seeds that come out of our subconscious or from the collective or wherever we get it, our intuition, intuitive creativity. And that's where we're going to see a lot of beautiful work being done.
Yeah, I love that. That creativity, it almost feels like aha moments that are coming forward wherever it's going to hit you in your birth chart.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
And then March 10th, we have Jupiter stationing direct in Cancer.
So when a planet stations direct, all that means is it's coming out or going into a retrograde. And most of the planets every year will go retrograde. As a matter of fact, for 6 months out of the year, we have planets in retrograde. The reason Mercury is so strong is because it's the closest to the sun, right? So it really affects our life. And then Venus and Mars also are going to affect our life. So we find when we go retrograde in Mars, there's a lot of physical energy that lapses and we lose the momentum. Jupiter and Saturn are known as social planets, so they're further away. So the retrograde doesn't happen in our lives so so strongly. And even the other planets, like it's more psychological, it's more, or subtle would be the energy, subtle. So when Jupiter goes in retrograde, it can bring in a lot of deep gratitude. Our expansion goes inwards. Jupiter usually expands us wherever he is at that time in our life. So if he's going inward, then the energy is how I would use that personally, is just look at like, how can I turn gratitude into this area of my life, wherever Jupiter is, and move with it. But direct energy, all that means is it's sitting there ready to move forward or backwards, if that makes sense. It
absolutely.
In itself is not the strong, like Mercury was direct yesterday. Today it's in retrograde.
And I love that when you brought up gratitude, because gratitude is such an ally in our life, and it's such an easy way to have that mind shift to a positive mind shift just by naming a couple things and feeling it, like that deep-seated gratitude. I often think of like a pet is the easiest way to find gratitude. If you have a pet, just to like hold it for a second and have that mind shift set change.
Oh, 100%, Megan. And I think the biggest thing too, like when we look at, if we were going to look at the Jupiter turning that gratitude inwards, it is easy to be grateful for the things that go well in our life. But can we be grateful for the things that aren't going well? The lessons that they bring us, you know, the peace that passes the understanding, as a lot of people like to quote that. But to me, Jupiter going in is where we get to look at, you know, yeah, that sucked, but look at what opportunities it brought. Because not to say that Jupiter is going to bring anything bad, it never does. Even when it's in hard aspect, it always tends to help us. But when we go inward, we can start to maybe, depending where he is again in your chart, it can really help us to expand through the stuff that we've struggled through.
Yeah, too. Absolutely. And I also, like you added, you know, to be grateful for that. And then also, can we be grateful for the things that haven't even happened yet or haven't come to fruition in our lives that we're working on and that we want to bring into our life? So
actually, that's really well said. And I love that. And not only that, I think with even that last comment, that's manifest. That's Jupiter's word, manifest. If you looked at the two energies that manifest, they're always Jupiter or Neptune. And I loved that. Good. You summed it all up in that last sentence.
All right. And then turning towards getting closer to the end of the month, on March 18th, we have the Pisces new moon. So new beginnings coming and new intentions. Talk to us about that, Sandy.
This is actually a really powerful one because every new moon means that we get to bring something in, right? If we look at a lunar cycle, the dark moon is the day before the new moon. That's reflection. New moon, what do I want? What do I want to bring in? You could look at the Pisces themes and think about, what am I going to manifest? What am I going to look into my subconscious, whatever? And then you let it go all the way to fruition to the next full moon. Or you could even do it to the next Pisces full moon if you wanted to follow like the zodiacal lunar cycles. But this one, we're having a new moon in Pisces, which is the end of the zodiac, and that new moon energy is going to dissipate just as we enter the zodiacal new year. So we could even go a little bit deeper and look at this as an ending, but a beginning at the same time, you know, the life and the death of the party. Because if we're bringing something in on this new moon, but we know we're starting a literal whole start, then I don't know. To me, I feel like that's potent.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us into the last part of the month, which you're mentioning, which is March 20th. As the Aries season begins, that's a brand new astrological cycle, right? Do you want to speak to us about that?
Yeah. Aries is the start of the zodiac. And so technically, back in the day, and to some of us who are still stubborn, this is the beginning of the new year. This is the new year. And we start the sun starts a whole nother cycle, and the whole story of the zodiac comes through because we have Aries is I am, right? And then it moves into the Taurus, which is I build, or I plan, or I grow. And then we have Gemini, I speak. So if you look at all the mantras, it's really a development of our soul. And so each time the sun moves through that, that's why we get to this this opportunity to grow and self-discover. And yeah, that Aries energy, when we have Aries starting, this is usually when people talk about spring cleaning and stuff. It's because Aries energy is very active. If you know any strong Aries person, they act first, think later. So they're generally always even physical, sometimes just mental, but they're always moving. And so this is the energy. So wherever Aries is in your chart, whatever area of life Aries works through there, that's where you're going to feel it. And it gives you this motivation to move forward, right? And to advocate for yourself and pull energy in for yourself. We all need at some point to just like focus on us, the I am. And that's what Aries represents.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm just going to kind of layer this all three together. We have March 18th, the Pisces new moon. March 20th, the Aries season begins. But then we also have Mercury stationing direct. So it's almost like three things moving us forward into new beginnings at the same time. Would you see it that way?
Well, yes. But better than saying Mercury stations direct, we come out of Mercury retrograde. So the majority of the world who is not born in a Mercury retrograde, they actually can take a deep breath and go about their normal proceedings again without having to double check every text and everything they signed and so on. Yeah, absolutely. It's a powerful time. I feel like whenever Mercury comes out, you are looking at the world through a different lens. And interestingly enough, and this is for anybody that you're working with ever with your beautiful, all the work and stuff you do, people who are born during Mercury retrograde very often struggle in school because they don't process information the same way other people do. And eventually they learn, almost like learning two languages. But when Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year, which it does, people who are born during Mercury retrograde, they don't struggle like the rest of the world does. It's almost like everybody starts to speak their language. So it's still frustrating. I was born in Mercury retrograde. So for me, I'm like, oh, thank God my brain isn't so jumbled. I can finally think again. The frustrating part is that everybody else is scattered and not thinking straight.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But yeah, it's, if anybody was born with that, that's probably why they've never felt the effects of Mercury retrograde the same as other people do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a really interesting way to end the month. So again, like it seems like we have a lot of Pisces energy and then we have some Aries energy coming in. How would you kind of wrap up the overall look of the month?
Honestly, to me, like my first words of advice would be to find out where those 2 signs are in your chart, because those are the areas that you can work on. For the Pisces season, take opportunities to unplug, take opportunities to understand clear boundaries, but with compassion. You know, rigid boundaries are not healthy. And not having boundaries are not healthy, but understanding how to compassionately be a part of humanity with love, but also knowing what you need at that time. That's the message that the Pisces shows, and that's a lot of what that fish represents, the one going upstream, one going downstream. And you don't want to escape because that's not healthy, but you also don't want to be completely immersed, where you become infiltrated.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't think of the right word right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't want to separate too much, but we also don't want to become something we're not.
Yeah, beautifully put. Yeah, thank you so much, Sandy. That was a great summary of the month and what we have to look forward to. So for all the viewers, just tell us, Sandy, your website is solarpowerhealth.com. And then they can also find you on the other socials, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is at Solar Power Health. And TikTok.
Oh, and TikTok. Okay, I missed that one. Glad you mentioned it. All right. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more astrology information and living an aligned life. Thank you.